A lot of people will have these time-saving strategies that don't fucking work in the real world. Yeah, man, I'm saving time doing everything as a superset. Like, oh yeah, how many supersets I got? 8 in a row. Like, well, that old lady just died in that squat rack. You said, shit. Well, I'm gonna have to wait till they clear out her body. And you're like, it's gonna take forever. But on a serious note, hey folks, Dr. Mike here for RP Strength, and today I'm joined by my friend, the glorious, the illustrious, the Greek. Really, those 3 things mean the same thing. Dr. Pak of the Wolf Pack.
Hey.
Milo Wolf and Dr. Pak are traveling sports scientists. And they've traveled here today, and Dr. Pak knows that you have a problem. Well, a few problems. One is things down there just don't feel like they used to. That's not why we're here. I'm sorry. The other problem is you might not have a ton of time to work out, and you're looking for workout hacks that save you oodles of time and still get you great results. And there's a bunch of them. So Pak has done us the great service of putting together a tier list. As you gamer fucking weirdos no doubt only understand tier lists. There's that anime bitch with the weird ears, dragon person, orc,
Born.
Porn's on. What are you saying? In any case, tier list of ways to save time in the gym.
Yes.
That work.
Yes.
But they're not all the same efficacy.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us a story.
Yeah. So context, 1, actually before the context, the usual disclaimers, it is a tier list that is not based on the latest meta-analysis that makes tier lists.
We
My
need
opinion,
one of those.
I will justify my selections based on the current scientific evidence, but
Yes.
take the tier list with a grain of salt.
Yes.
That said, context is muscle growth and people who want to get pretty jacked. We'll start sort of from the bottom, starting with barbell compound exercises as a way to save time. Although they can be great because you are targeting multiple muscle groups at once, depending on the type of exercise and things like squats and deadlifts, if you are not very aware of your warm-ups and you're not being intentional and you're chatting and you are very strong and you're taking a ton of time warming up, those can be a bit of a pain as far as time efficiency goes.
Yep.
Personally, if I need to train the conventional deadlift or the barbell squat, even for a few hard sets, that can take a ton of time.
It's going to take some time.
Yes. So although on a surface level, you're thinking, oh, barbell squat works my quads pretty well. I get some glute work in there as well, maybe some erector work, and so on and so forth. In terms of time efficiency, there may be better alternatives. So we'll put the barbell compound exercises in the D category as far as time efficiency goes. And
I got something for you for the D category. That was it.
What?
That was it.
Okay.
Please continue.
So moving from barbells to machines, and more specifically machine compound exercises, those can be pretty time efficient.
So close grip press machine is like you get in there, you warm up really quick, you do some higher rep sets, boom, boom, boom. It hits your triceps, hits your shoulders, hits your chest. Pretty Gucci.
Yes. So
Okay.
we'll put the plate-loaded ones, We'll put the plate-loaded ones in the C category, but the stack-loaded in the B category.
Nice, because you can real quick. Plate-loaded machines are like some kind of abomination from God. If I was loading plates, I'd do it on a fucking barbell, goddammit.
Exactly.
I'm kidding, but
No, but in all seriousness, like machines, especially stack-loaded, you can get in and get out very quickly, especially if you're training upper body and you don't need a ton of time to warm up. But even for legs, like, cool, it's a couple of sets.
Yep.
All you need to do, adjust, failure, rest, failure, and so on and so forth.
Got it.
But moving from compounds with barbells to machines to then bodyweight exercises.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Those can be pretty time efficient, but there are caveats there. Depending on your training experience, there are bodyweight exercises that may lend themselves better or worse to your goal. And for muscle growth specifically, there are terms and conditions. So yes, a bodyweight squat for an untrained individual can be a good exercise. For you, probably not, maybe as a finisher, the way you do them on some videos. But bodyweight exercises are slept on, in my opinion, in the context of muscle growth and making top gains, because they're associated with, like general fitness, or like push-ups are the thing that people in the army do and they just bang out push-ups. But bodyweight exercises, especially combined with machine exercises and in the form of supersets, which we will get to in a second, can be another great way to really save time. Minimal time to warm up. No need to add any plates or anything.
Minimal setup time.
Minimal, absolutely.
Maybe
minimal.
none.
Yes, maybe none. And minimal equipment required. So you're in a crowded commercial gym, pressed for time. You can bang out some pull-ups, push-ups.
Pack, that is such a great point, because a lot of people will have these time-saving strategies that don't fucking work in the real world. Yeah, man, I'm saving time doing everything as a superset. Like, oh yeah, how many supersets I got? 8 in a row. Like, well, that old lady just died in that squat rack. He said, shit. Well, I'm going to have to wait till they clear out her body. And you're like, it's going to take forever. But on a serious note, 80 people in a gym, you ain't superset shit, except for the stuff you have physically right around you. And if it's you have some dumbbells and your body weight, I mean, you supersetting all day long. The other thing is deconstruction time. Once you've deadlifted,
Long.
it's not only is it annoying, it takes a while.
Takes a while, and it's another workout on its own for some.
Yeah. But with body weight, you just have to pick yourself up off the ground.
Yes.
And if that's hard, well, then you really did a good job training.
Yes. So we'll put those in the B tier as well, with a slight caveat for legs, maybe in the C tier, because
If you're advanced, it's tough to get a really great leg workout with body weight. Another thing is like, how do you train your hamstrings with body weight? It becomes a little less clear. How do you train your back with body weight? Well, do you have a pull-up setup? Great. If you do, great. If you don't have a pull-up setup, can you get an inverted row setup? If you're pretty strong, even that starts to be not so great. So body weight, my interpretation, Pack, would be use as many body weight exercises in a plan to shorten your length of time while still getting great results as you realistically can still get a great stimulus from. If you can't get a great stimulus, even though it's using your own body exercise, then if it's only just body weight, that doesn't mean it's good by itself. But if it's body weight, it's not going to take a long time to do. And if it fits the bill, then you're good to go.
And just because we mentioned supersets, I'll mention supersets now. And supersets are one of those time-saving strategies that I would put in the potentially S tier, A to S tier, for the following reasons. Very recent evidence from our lab showed that in trained individuals, supersets, so agonist, antagonist supersets, so opposing muscle groups, essentially.
Push downs, superset to cable curls.
Perfect. Led to the same muscle growth as straight sets, and people were resting 20 or less seconds between each superset and 2 minutes, each exercise within the superset, and 2 minutes between each superset. They made the same gains in 8 weeks, and we're talking about resistance trained individuals, as people that were doing straight sets, but spent 36% less time training.
Less time. And you would think, well, how is this magical? Like 36% less time, but the same results. The caveat there is it's harder because it's more annoying to train with supersets because you get out of breath, not as much of a time to dilly-dally and stare at cocks.
Yes.
But if you want a quick workout, unrelated muscle group supersets are a really, really great tool.
Yes. Nice that you mentioned it, because nausea was one of the things that was qualitatively somewhat assessed in the study, and some people did report higher levels of nausea in the superset group, although session RPE wasn't all that different. One thing that I'll mention, and you mentioned it as well, and I've heard that before. I had somebody comment on a video I did on supersets with Dr. Brand Schoenfeld that they said, yeah, but I'm in a commercial gym and like I can't hog 2 machines, and they're pretty much more hassle than they're worth, supersets. But if you just go on ChatGPT and go like, okay, ChatGPT, give me combinations of exercise that I can do with a dumbbell and a machine. So you grab a pair of dumbbells, you go to the machine that you'd like to use, and then you do the machine and then an exercise with dumbbells.
Or body weight in a machine.
Or body weight in a machine, or a bunch of stuff with cable pulleys. Cable pulleys are amazing as well.
Yep.
You can just set it at a different level, biceps, triceps, back, chest, a ton of stuff.
Yep.
If you are really pressed for time, just slightly planning your session can go a long way, and you can superset a ton of stuff.
100%.
So those will go in the S tier.
If you can't superset something, let's say you got your whole workout figured out. You're going to be supersetting a lot. But like chest press, you can't superset because you know as soon as you give up that machine, someone's going to take it. Is it okay to do something like Myo reps as a somewhat more time-saving strategy in that exercise, just because you can't superset to anything, and then move on to supersets for other stuff?
Yeah, you could. That or drop sets as well.
Mhm.
That was going to be another one. Those would go in the A tier as well. So just simply, again, if you're on a stack loaded machine, even better. Drop the stack, rest for a bit, bang out another set. Again, you're pressed for time. You'd rather get that extra set in the form of a drop set or Myo reps and get more volume in that way versus saying, nope, it may lead to inferior results if I was theoretically going to do straight sets, therefore I'm not going to do it, and then not do it. Does that make sense?
Somewhat. I guess if you really want to save a lot of time in your workout, you might have to be okay with 10% less effectiveness for a 150% gain in efficiency. And if you're looking at it, okay, well, I want the perfect workout for maximum growth. Can I still save time? The answer is no. You're going to have to take plenty of time. But if you can get 90% of that effect with half the effort, man, that starts to be pretty compelling for most people. And most people, they're not into the workout for 100% of the gains, because if they were really follow that logic, they'd be eating 6 meals a day. They'd be sleeping with a CPAP and steroids and all this other crap.
Yeah. But supersets are one way where you can even be close to that 100%.
Yeah, you bet.
And it's like, if you want that, just make it work.
Yes.
You can make it work,
Yeah.
and you can find a way around it. So yeah, drop sets, Myo reps, those would go in the A tier for me, specifically. The next thing, and some people may be like, okay, why wasn't this first? And we've talked about it in other videos as well, is low volume training. So overall, just saying, hey,
Brilliant.
I'll do less volume overall. Although that's the easiest, the simplest way to be more efficient is by doing less. I do think that if you're somebody who wants to get really jacked, exploring other avenues and avenues where you can get more volume in a time efficient manner and being more methodical with your training may be better than straight up going, well, I'll just do less.
Yeah.
Have that as the sort of last solution. And again, you can make great gains by doing less volume. But if you can be a bit more organized, a bit more intentional with your training and sort of treat it less as just like time in the gym where you also fuck around and talk to people and whatever, then I think going that route makes more sense. Low volume training, I'd put it in the C tier because you are leaving a substantial amount of gains on the table depending on how low you can go. You
Yes.
can still make great gains, but you may be leaving 40% of gains on the table. Whereas with things like supersets, drop sets, combining all those things together, you could be looking at
Nothing.
Yeah.
Same gains. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, C tier for that. Now, rest periods. Low rest periods are also a bit hated on, I think. Let me break it down. I see the arms folding. I see the ears.
This is a resistant posture. I don't
Yes.
like the rest periods being low.
Yes. So recent meta-analytic data essentially showed that around 1.5 to 2 minutes of rest seems to be enough to maximize hypertrophy, potentially more rest needed for the lower body. But more importantly, it showed, in my opinion at least, it showed that less than a minute or less than a minute of rest will lead to less hypertrophy, but not that much worse hypertrophy than resting for more. So if you were to be methodical with how you manipulate your rest periods, again, in the context of being very limited in terms of time and opting for very low rest with some things and also adding supersets on top, I think that can be a great way for you to get a ton of volume in, not miss out on a ton of gains, potentially make up for the lost gains by doing a bit more. And on things where you need more rest, like leg training, have that extra time because, hey,
You don't have to have it all the time for
Yes.
everything. Yeah, that's a really, really good point. If you can get the same gains that you would typically get from 5 sets of resting 3 minutes, but it takes you 6 sets to do that if you rest 1 minute, the total amount of time for the same gains, 5 the slow way, 6 the fast way, the 6 sets gives you the same growth at maybe 1/3 as long or 2/3 as long as what it was before with 3-minute rests. That's a big deal. People see one study that compares 5 sets versus 5 sets and says 3 minutes is better than 1 minute by 5% or 10% for hypertrophy. And you go, well, okay, you got to rest a minimum of 3 minutes, otherwise it doesn't work. Well, hold on a second. Similar studies also compare doing more. And if you get the same total number of repetitions in, even if it takes you a few more sets, because none of the sets are as high performing, you still see the same hypertrophy in most of these studies. So what you can take from that is, let's say you have 50 reps of leg press to do with roughly a 20 RM loaded on the leg press. I did this last week and my quads are still fucked up. If you do sets of 15 and you do 4 of them, you take 5 minutes between sets, it's going to be a great workout.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to take you some time. If you plug in and you do a whole shitload of Maya reps, that whole situation might take you 10 minutes. Now it's 10 minutes of you breathing heavily for 10 seconds at a time, doing 3 more leg presses, breathing heavily, doing 3 more, etc. It sucks. But that's now a 10-minute workout versus a 30-minute workout. And it's going to cause the same degree of hypertrophy. If you count the Maya rep sets as sets, you'll be doing double the sets, 12 versus 6 or some shit, or 8 versus 4. But it sure as shit saves time. And in my experience, if you do the same amount of mechanical tension in position, the same volume, the same load, but you do it faster, typically that to me causes a lot more delayed onset soreness. And I happen to think hypothetically that it also causes a little bit more muscle growth. I think training density is a variable that causes muscle growth. I'm reaching here. We'll see how the literature says on this in a few years. But at the very least, we know you're not giving anything up. The problem with that is someone says, okay, you can either do 4 sets of leg press with 4 minutes between each, or you can get this over with in 10 minutes. Oh, what does that feel like? Well, it feels like shit.
It feels shit.
But then you have to come back to the question, how time constrained really are you?
Mm-hmm.
If you're really, really time constrained, shut up and feel like shit. Good news, you won't have to feel like shit for long. If you don't like feeling like shit in your workout, you're going to have to dilute your workout with 2 total hours of rest. 3 hours later, you're done working out. Someone says, how was it? You're like, it wasn't that hard, but it took fucking 3 hours. Something's got to give.
Exactly. And the only reason I would put low rest periods in the B tier is because of the evidence showing that, hey, you know, you're getting somewhat less hypertrophy than if you were to rest longer on a percent basis. But we've talked about a lot of different strategies that you're going to implement. And as you said, and if you really want to, you can get in and out of the gym, perform a ton of training volume. Sure, it won't feel great while you're in the gym, especially for legs. But my bet would be on you're not missing out on much growth here.
Sure.
And that's why I'm not inclined to say, hey, just do less volume. And that's the only way to be time efficient with your training.
Sure.
Very nice.
What else you got?
I have also got the ditch the warm-up recommendation. So if you're pressed for time, do something to get your, heart rate up, 5 minutes, some form of activity. But even that is something that I would ditch if you're really, really pressed for time. Sit on the machine, do a couple of light sets. Sure, if you're training and lift, that needs skill and it takes more time warming up. But if you're the average person who wants to get jacked and you're in the gym and you have to do chest and back, sit down on the chest press, couple of light sets, on you go. There's nothing wrong with that.
It is my warm-up.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, saving the warm-up is a good thing. Let me try some caveats for that. One, if you're going heavier than sets of 8 or sets of 5, don't do that because you might get hurt. So keep it to higher reps. The other one is actually there is a way to do probably no warm-up at all and be fairly safe. Pick a 20 to 25 rep max weight and just start your first set.
That as well.
You're not going to get hurt, and the warm-up occurs during your first set. You pair that with another set of 20 to 25 and an antagonistic move like a push and a pull. By the time you come back to the agonist again, you're pumped, you're warm, you're good. Another set of the same weight. Boom, 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 boom. So if I have to work out really, really quick, I do high rep sets. I skip the warm up. I just get right into it. And that also means that, let's say it's a pressing machine. You don't have to get in their first set and start doing this shit. Get in your first set, get your technique, and start a little slow. Pause at the bottom on rep 2, feel it a bit, stretch, and then come up. That's rep 3 now. And then rep 4. And then you're feeling pretty good. And then rep 5, 6. And then you're getting close to failure. Same on the other exercise. That way, the first 10 reps of your 25 reps total for that first set is a warm-up. And then your last 15 is mostly where the hypertrophy comes from.
Yeah.
Decent?
Decent for sure. And yeah, I like the caveats as well. And obviously don't go and do a conventional deadlift 8 RM as your first set.
But Paxton skipped the warm-up. Now my arms are still on the bar, but they're not in my shoulder sockets.
The warm-ups I notoriously hate people that do these 20-minute warm-ups to get into a hypertrophy upper body session.
It's crazy.
Even for powerlifters, if it's your ritual, and we're not talking about powerlifting here, do it. You're a world champion powerlifter. You like doing 6 core active exercises before, fair enough. But if you're trying to get jacked, just get into it, unless you feel horrible. But then, cool, something's got to give, right? You want to make top gains in less time. We can't have it all here.
100%.
Last but not least, to put it in the S+ tier, take a lot of PEDs. That's the best way to get time-efficient muscle growth.
That's how I did it.
There we go. And that's the end of the list.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Can I add one more?
No.
Nope.
Yes.
This doesn't save a lot of time, so it would be in the B or C tier.
Real science.
Real science. Lengthened partials at the end of your last set of whatever you're doing.
Sure.
I would even say in many situations, if you really want to save time and you really want to drive yourself hard, you don't have a motivation problem, I would say getting to and beyond failure is good.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say you have very short time, 5 minutes to train your upper body, which sounds dumb.
I've made a video on that.
That's right. What you can do is calculate, actually have only one set of pushing and one set of pulling. Let's say you have a row machine and you have a press machine. Take a close grip on both, distribute the load well. Okay, so far so good. If in your one set of presses, not only do you stop when you can't lock out, not only do you stop when you can't get halfway up, you stop when you cannot move the machine anymore. That set's going to take 2 minutes versus the typical 45-second set, but it's going to be brutal. It is going to drive a crap load of hypertrophic stimulus. Now, the fatigue is insane, but almost always when people are time constrained, we don't think about fatigue because they don't have enough time to put in a lot of fatigue. Anyway, you train 20 minutes a day, 3 times a week. And it's we're not worried about the fatigue. You're not Ronnie Coleman. So it's going to be brutal, but then it works really effectively because in that one set, it was a set, then it was a set of partials, then it was a set all the way to total failure. That's a fucking set. You can do a similar thing with a row machine right after, where you go full rows, then you go half rows, and then you can't barely just do this, then it's over. It's terrible. And you would think, oh my God, why would you do that? And the answer is because you have to go and catch a ride with your friends on a road trip, and they're going to be pulled up from the gym in 6 minutes. You got to get sweaty and disgusting for them and bitch about how your nuts itch halfway through the road trip. Can please stop and can I go to a shower and at least have a trucker be in the shower with me in the truck stop? You ever been in that part of America, Pac?
That is the only part of America I always look forward to visiting.
I would even say so much that really is America.
That is America.
The most America of
Freedom.
America. Freedom is dope.
But to your point, yeah, I did a video on a 5-minute workout, and in 5 minutes. Now, the reason I didn't mention the partials is because in my head, that's my default now.
That's just good.
I take all sets to failure and beyond to the point where I can't move anymore. And I managed to do 3 sets for 3 exercises, all to failure, back to back as a giant set, opposing muscle groups, in just 5 minutes and a bit.
Yeah.
And that's 3 sets for your triceps. If you're doing a pressing movement, you're getting front delts, you're getting chest, you're getting more triceps as well. Throw in a back pull-ups or whatever. Biceps, lat, stimulus. says 5 minutes.
I don't think we covered this. One little bullshit one that I can come up with is choosing exercises that aren't even just necessarily compound,
Yes.
but compounds that really rely on multiple muscles to do most of the work.
Yes.
It's weird when someone's like, yeah, I don't have a lot of time to train. And then you see them warm up for cable flies. And you're like, you fucking idiot. You could have pressed and done both chest and triceps and shoulders.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, okay, fine. And they do wide grip press. You're like, no, God damn it. Close grip pressing, close grip pulling, a variety of upright rows and face pulls for the shoulders and biceps and forearms at the same time. Those kinds of movements integrate so much that you just don't have to do a ton of them in order to get the right thing.
Yeah.
Same idea with like lunges. Lunges are great movements because they hit your quads really well and your glutes and your adductors. Can you imagine someone saying they want to save time doing leg extensions, then doing glute bridges, then doing good girl, bad girl machine? This is not the way to do it. So choosing exercises that are, as I call them, distributed compounds where the load is distributed evenly between muscles. That's kind of like, it's not going to save you a ton of time. But if you were planning on doing all the exercises as isolations otherwise, it's going to save you infinity amount of time. Mm-hmm. Can you poke any holes in that? Does that seem pretty right on?
For sure. Combine that with stack loaded machines.
Yes.
And it's the world is truly your oyster. But aside from the slight ironic tone in that sentence, you can make insane gains in very little time if you just do a bit of the hard work of planning it a bit more.
Yes. So folks, go through this tier list yourselves, look at situations in which you can't train for a long time, and use this tier list like one of those paint sampling little thingies artists have.
Yes.
Dip a little bit here, dip there, dip a little here, dip there. Don't have to use all of them. Some of them will be applied to you much more than others, but the more of them you can use at the same time, the more time you're going to restrict for yourself, the more time you'll have to do other things like
stuff animals.
I
I've been watching Scrubs. I'm a big, I always cringe when the janitor, have you watched Scrubs? Anyways, one of the characters, he stuffs animals. He's a weirdo. And that's how I got to that.
Taxidermy?
Taxidermy, yeah. Greek word. You're welcome.
Well, you guys kind of came up with civilization and stuff, so thanks for that as well.
But like, don't have the all or nothing mentality when it comes. Like, people will say, yeah, I can't do that on these two acts. Bro, even if you do it on 80% of your training, you're still going to save a ton of time and use those. Do your squats with 2 minutes of rest between each set. It's fine. Sure. If you've saved all the other workout, if you've saved time on everything else, you're still going to be in and out of the gym much quicker. Yeah.
So what you're saying is you can have parts of your workout that don't try to save any time.
Exactly.
But other parts that save a ton of time. On the aggregate, you still save time.
100%. Like, I don't know why people assume that this is meant to apply to literally everything and there's no space for personal preference. You could go in for your legs, do your prime, whatever, squat pattern, your hip hinge pattern, normal rest. You're in the gym for like 35, 40 minutes. And then, boop, in 15 minutes, you're doing leg extensions, superset with leg curls, or leg curls, superset with sissy squats.
Myo rep lunges around the gym, fuck off.
Peace.
Lunge right out of the gym. Boom. Folks, really shut it down today. Dr. Pak, where can people find you if they want to see more of your gorgeous face?
In here, as they can tell, as the first visitors
to the new look.
They can find me on Instagram at Dr. Pak, but more importantly, and I need to get used to this, on YouTube at Dr. Pak. Just YouTube Dr. Pak with a K. If you spell it with a C,
who knows what you'll find.
You have bigger problems to worry about.
Enjoy your problems. See you next time.
Peace.